Right, it's time for Christmas and it's time to put our wreath on the door. Vital part of Christmas, I think. Everybody's are different. Everybody, whether they've bought them or they've made them or they're ancient old, everyone, it's so individual. It's a bit like your Christmas tree, don't you think? People's Christmas trees are all so different. That's what I love about them. So this is how I make mine. Very old-fashioned me. Right back to basics. That's how I like to do it. You can pick one of these up from your garden centre or your florist, a wreath ring. You do need this wire. Treat yourself, it's pence. It's not a lot of money, but a real floristry wire, it will last you for 3 years. 3 or 5 years doing the stuff at home. Unless you make loads for your friends, obviously. So I've attached my wire, but just with twists, just to attach it on. And then you do need moss. Moss is vital. I've got to say though, if you didn't want to go to the trouble of doing this, you could attach this to a ready-made wicker ring. As it's outside, it should be fine. It will be fine. It's better with moss because it's damp and it will keep the foliage moist for longer. Okay, so this is sphagnum moss. I love a bit of sphagnum moss actually. I don't know why. All earthy and smelly, and it's nice and damp. And what I'm going to do is roll it into a sausage, a nice little sausage like that. And I'm going to lay it on my ring. And with my wire, I'm going to go round once and give it a nice sharp tug. Round again and round again. So we have that. So now I shall try and do this as quickly as possible. Overlap slightly, attach it. Now, as is the rule with most things in life, you've got to be firm. You've got to be firm with this and don't be half-hearted. Give it a good tug. It's wire, it won't rip, it won't tear. So go round, yank each time. This is reminding me, doing this, of last Christmas, in the COVID and all that. Oh my God. So everybody still wanted their wreaths from me, but moss there was like a national shortage. So the moss pickers hadn't been out. The transport couldn't get in, the workers and all that. Oh my God, everybody was fighting over moss at Covent Garden. They could charge whatever they liked for it because everybody wanted bags of moss. Oh God, doesn't that seem a long time ago now? Christmas last year when nobody could see their relatives. And you were sneaking people in the back door for a glass of mild wine when you shouldn't have been. Not that I did that, of course. I didn't do that. Okay. I filled it out. That was a bit of a squidgy bit there. So I've put my moss all the way round. And I'm still attached to my wire. And that's stage 1. Now I've got piles of foliage that I've gathered. So I've got some more buried ivy there. I've got some yew here. And I've got some blue pine as well. And all the bottom of the Christmas tree. So if you cut those bits off the bottom of the tree, you've got a bit left. This is a very good way to use them. And I've cut them into sprig-sized pieces. And here we go, let's go. It's quite funny because this is the first wreath I've done this season, obviously. And it always takes a couple to get yourself going and make them good. But anyway, I'm sure I'll manage it for you today. So let's start with the blue pine. You could use anything. You could use euonymus, you could use box, anything that's evergreen, anything that's not going to droop, basically. So here we go. We've got the wire there. What I like to do is choose 2 pieces at the side like that, and then 2 pieces on the top. So I sort of almost bunch them together and holding it firm. Don't waver from that, and give it one tug and two tugs, and you're on and you're off. And basically I'm now going to start mixing in other foliages. I know this sounds funny, but you're only doing one, but I have to be more economical when I'm doing it and make sure I get everything to last and go as far as possible. But you want to group the tatty pieces of foliage, if that's the right way to say it, and put the best pieces on top. So there you go, I'm holding it firm. This is still tight. Once round, twice round, and then that's it. So now I'm going to put another variety in. I've got some yew here, and again I'm going to bunch this up in my hand into clumps, taking the tattier pieces and putting it behind, and I'm going to overlap my buried ivy like that, holding it firm and catching it. And off we go. We're going to repeat that process again. Here's a fact about yew that I heard the other day, that it's always in churchyards, which you probably know. But the reason it's in churchyards, not that they planted it in churchyards, but they built the churches where the yew was. So that's how old some of these yew plants are in churchyards. Absolutely amazing that they're that, 700 years old, some of those trees. Amazing. Right. So like I say, just keep building it up. And I'm going to go round with the blue pine, and I'm then going to go back with this buried ivy. Tatty bits at the back. See again, apart from buying the ring, and possibly you might have to buy the moss. This is all some things you can collect on your dog walks. And when you're using this buried ivy, find a clean lot, if that makes sense. Not next to the road where it's getting all the sootiness off the road. Not flea bitten or tatty. You want it nice and clean and glossy and vibrant looking. There you go. So each time the wire's going round and it's capturing the last lot of foliage at the same time, so you're creating a nice ring. Can you see? So that's building up really nicely. Now I'm going to cut off now, and I'll see you in a minute when I finish the whole ring. Right, I've gone all the way round. As you can see, I'm at the other end. So this is all groups. You can do whatever you like with this foliage, but it's quite nice to have some consistency going round, to give the definition. You can make it wilder. I know that the trend is to be wilder, but the downfall of making it wilder is it possibly couldn't last as long. The compactness of this will make it last, and you'll be taking it off the door on the 6th of January and think, that's a shame, isn't it? Because it's still looking good. But if you make it looser, it will look great, but maybe don't put it on in November. Give it a couple of weeks into Christmas, or at least a week into December. Okay, so I just wanted to show you how to finish it off. So I'm there with my wire, and then I've got my last little bundle of yew that I'm going to slip out under the first group of foliage that I put on. So I'm going to slip that under, and I'm going to tuck it in and go round the last time, and I might just catch the first bit of foliage that I put on, so it covers up all my mechanics, all my wiring. So then I will take the wire around the back of the wreath cut it off, give yourself a bit of length, cut it off, and then hook it into the wire of the ring. So keeping it taut. Look at the state of my hands. Dreadful. I'm going to go around a couple of times around the ring, yanking it tight, and then cut it off, and then just tuck the end into the wreath. There you go. All done. So I'm a lover of foliage, so I'm really quite happy with that as it is, but let's decorate it up a bit. So where you finished it off is possibly where I'm going to put my ribbon. Now let's have a bit of red. Got a nice little bit of red velvet ribbon. I'm going to show you how to do this. This is the one question everyone asks me. How do you make the ribbon, the bow? So I'm going to have a length, and I'm going to pinch together the width coming in, and then I'm going to make a hoop, and I'm going to pinch again, and then I'm going to twist, and I'm going to loop, and I'm going to pinch, and I'm going to twist, and I'm going to repeat that with this ribbon. I think I'm going to repeat that 6 times, so I get 3 loops either side, and then the last one I'm going to leave a tail and cut off. But before I do that, I'm going to take one of my wires, and I'm going to go across the bit, the middle of the figure of 8 as it were. I'm going to pull the wire across, pinching it again really tight so it doesn't go loose. I'm going to cut that off there. It's typical, it's quite thick. Just try and make it as neat as possible with my scissors that don't seem very. So then you have this that you can play around with, and I'm going to go into the wreath right through the middle and yank it in, and I'm going to take that wire behind, just cut it off a little bit, and I'm going to tuck it into the moss. Oh, where's my length gone? Oh, there it is. Oh, typical, sort of. Anyway. Not going to plan. Oh well, I think you'll get the idea, and you can. There you go. So we've got our nice bit of ribbon on there, and at the other end of the ribbon, I'd wait to put this on the door. You can hook a wire through the ring and attach it to your doorknob. Right, just for some extra decorations, I have some more pine cones, and if you want to know how to wire one, take a wire, catch it in the teeth, pull it through the cone, twist, 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 done. Now I'm going to pop them in to my ring, and it goes through the moss, cut off so it's not too long, and I'm going to tuck it in again into the back of the wreath. So tuck it up. Let's quickly put some. So I tend to put the rings, the pine cones where there might be a little bit of a gap, or you feel it's a little bit bare. And I'm cutting off behind, and I'm putting into the moss, that magic moss that keeps it all working together. And just push. This is the beauty of this. There's no extra, I don't know, the moss just does brilliant things. I should show you this more clearly. I'm just hooking it over, pushing it in, finitoed. I think I'm rushing myself a little bit because I don't want you to think it's a bit repetitive and boring. But I'm just hooking those wires over and just filling in the spaces where you feel like you need another one. Let's have another one there. Oh, come on. Oh, I don't want to go in that one. Just hitting some foliage, I think. There you go. Right. So there you go. I keep pushing through the moss, hooking under, and there we go. That's with the pine cones in. Want some more? Little orange slices. Let's do that. I'll show you how to wire them because that's unfair. I've taken a bit of a thinner wire only because it's easier to manage. Thread them through the oranges. They're nice and dried and hard. These do look great, but I've got to say that sometimes you might get little birdies eating. Once they've softened up and then they're outside in the moist air, they will soften up a little bit and you might get the birdies eating them. Or they might just wither a little bit. So better on the inside of the house than the outside, if I'm honest. But I am asked to put them in wreaths a lot, so I do. And I'm doing the same technique where I'm threading them through the back, through the moss, and tucking the wires in underneath. And it's just like a hook really, isn't it? And I've got these ready made, so I'll just quickly waz them in. I've got to say, it's not bad for my first wreath of the season. They do get better. It's quite nice to use variegated foliage as well, if you've got any variegated ivy or holly. The only problem, of course, with holly, it's a bit more prickly to use. Right. And I think I just want a couple more at the top there. I know it's an expense buying the wires and buying the reels, etc. But once you bought them, you will find that they last for ages and ages, and you probably never have to buy them again. So there you go. How's that? So let's just clear the decks of all this moss, and there you go. Something nice for the front door. That'll make the postman happy.